They clapped when my father joked that I had no husband, no children, and no degree. They didn't clap when I paid for the vineyard, didn't raise a glass when I wired the funds for the caterer or the band or the dress they all gasped over when Tessa walked down the aisle. And yet, there they were, laughing like I was the joke, not the one who signed for the wine. I'm Laurel Knox. I'm 34. I own a logistics firm I built from nothing, and for the past 10 years, I've also been something else, the family's emotional accountant. Reliable, responsible, replaceable. It started small gas money for Brandon, my younger brother, a few dollars for a broken-down car, then Dad's surgery, then Mom's bridge work, then tuition, then rent, then just a little extra to hold us over. And me, I said yes, over and over again. Because that's what good daughters do, right? We say yes, we adjust. We're proud of our independence until it becomes an excuse for everyone else's dependence. I thought if I kept showing up, they'd see me. Not just the balance in my account, but me. But the truth is, I stopped being Laurel the moment I started saying yes with my wallet. They didn't notice I skipped college to start my business. They didn't come to my office opening. They never once asked what I wanted, only what I could give. The thing is, I didn't mind at first. Not really. It felt good to be useful, to make things easier for the people I thought I belonged to. Until I realized that the more I gave, the more invisible I became. And by the time the wedding came around, I was no longer the daughter, no longer the sister. I was just the sponsor. The wedding started with a phone call, just the venue Mom had said. They found a vineyard upstate, gorgeous, and honestly, Laurel, it would mean the world if you helped. I said yes. Then came the photographer's package wasn't included. The florist had a minimum. The band needed a deposit. Tessa's dress, well, she'd found the one, but it was out of budget. And Brandon's suit. He deserves to look sharp, Mom added. Each request came with that same soft guilt, not anger, not begging, just that practiced pause, that unspoken, you can, so you should. And I could, so I did. By the third week, I was too deep to stop. The planners had my number, not theirs. I coordinated delivery schedules while finishing vendor contracts between conference calls. I was the maid of honor without the dress, the best man without the speech. And still, I told myself it was fine. It's their big day. But even that started to feel like a strange joke. Whose day was it really? When the RSVP list crossed 200 and the signature cocktails were chosen without consulting me, I caught myself calculating costs during dinner. $12.50 per flute of champagne, $275 per chair. By the time they chose the string quartet, I'd stopped asking how much, because no one else was asking if I was okay. The worst part wasn't the money, it was that I wasn't mentioned. Not in the planning emails, not in the programs, not once in the thank you cards Brandon and Tessa sent out early. They thanked God, they thanked each other, they thanked those who made this day possible. I guess I was something else, but by then I'd already paid for the sunset. The ceremony started at 5. Guests arrived in linen and lace, laughing beneath fairy lights strung between oak trees. The vineyard glowed literally. Every chair had a flickering candle in a glass dome. A harpist played something delicate near the fountain. I stood near the catering tent, answering a call from the rental company about missing linens. When I made my way to the seating area, my name tag was near the back. Table 12. Next to the photographer's assistant and a distant cousin who kept asking what I did for a living as if I hadn't just funded the entire evening she was sipping rosé in. I glanced at the printed program. Cover Brandon and Tessa, a love worth toasting. Inside order of service. Song lyrics. A Bible verse from Corinthians. And on the last page, with gratitude to everyone who made this possible, Mom and Dad, Uncle Ray for the lights, Tessa's best friend for hand-making the table numbers. My name wasn't there, not even once. I didn't ask for a spotlight. I never have. But to not be seen at all, that cuts differently. When I caught Tessa's eye across the garden, she smiled like everything was perfect. Maybe for her it was. The string quartet began to play Can't Help Falling in Love. Brandon stood beneath the arbor with our dad, both in custom-tailored suits I'd paid for. He looked calm, confident, untouched by the chaos I'd managed behind the scenes. I took my seat, poured a glass of wine from the bottle I'd bought, and I waited. For one moment, one acknowledgement. It never came, but something else did. Dad stepped up to the mic already a few drinks in. He held it like a cigar, grinned at the crowd, and then he looked straight at me. I took my seat, poured a glass of wine from the bottle I'd bought, and I waited. But something else did. We always knew Brandon would find someone special. Dad began Mike in one hand, glass of scotch in the other. He's got charm, he's got looks, and now, finally, he's got a wife. People laughed. Brandon grinned. Tessa ducked her head like a blushing bride. Dad took a sip. As for Laurel... He paused. A long, deliberate pause. She's not married. No kids. No degree. He chuckled, turning slightly toward the crowd, then toward me. But hey, at least she picks up the check. The laughter came quick. Not polite chuckles, not nervous titters. Laughter. My brother laughed. Tessa laughed. Mom covered her mouth like it was just harmless fun. I didn't laugh. I didn't move. I just sat there still as the candlelight wine glass in hand. It wasn't even anger that came first. It was the sharp, cold edge of something far older. Something I'd felt before in smaller ways when they forgot my birthday, but remembered Brandon's dog's adoption day when they called me too focused or too independent when they said she's fine, she doesn't need anything. Maybe they thought that meant I didn't feel anything either. I stood, quietly. No scrape of chair, no dramatic stomp. I walked toward the mic. Dad tried to hand it to me with that same grin like it was all part of the toast. I didn't look at him. I looked at them, the guests, the fairy lights, my family, and I said, soft, steady, he's right. Silence. I'm not married. I don't have children. I never got a degree. But I do have something none of you seem to value, a spine, and a memory. I turned toward Brandon and Tessa. You know that $96,000 wedding gift, the one that made all of this possible? I smiled. Calm, cold, forget it. I didn't wait for a response. Didn't pause for applause or objections or even one person to stand with me. I just handed the mic to the DJ, turned, and walked out. Behind me, the music didn't start again. Someone gasped. I think my mother called my name not angrily, not even pleading, just surprised, like she hadn't seen it coming. And maybe she hadn't. That's what stunned me most. They didn't think they were doing anything wrong. To them, I was fulfilling a role. The helpful daughter, the successful one who could afford to stay quiet. But I was done. I didn't go home that night. I hadn't planned to. 3 days earlier, I'd booked a suite in a small hotel downtown. Corner room, tall windows, quiet. I dropped my purse, took off my heels, and poured a glass of water. I should have felt powerful. Instead, I felt empty, like I'd been slowly drained for years, and tonight was just the first time I'd stopped pretending I wasn't dry. I opened my laptop, logged into the shared wedding expense account, the one I created at the start. Yes, created. Under my name, with Brandon and Tessa as authorized users. Why? Because I've been burned before. Because I'd learned that generosity without records becomes myth. And because this time I wanted a paper trail. The dress charged to me. The venue deposit charged to me. Every bouquet, every custom napkin, every one of those delicate gold-rimmed plates mine. But what they didn't know, what no one bothered to ask, was that I didn't just fund the account. I controlled it. Every payout, every transfer, every final balance required my approval, and I hadn't cleared the final round yet. I hovered over the dashboard, clicked pause all outgoing payments. The screen blinked once, then confirmed all transactions frozen. If I was just a checkbook to them, then this was me closing it. The next morning my phone buzzed at 6:13 a.m. Mom Laurel, the screen read. I let it ring twice before answering. Her voice was scratchy, the kind people use when they've been crying, or rehearsing. Where are you? I didn't answer. Well? Brandon said something happened. He said you made a scene. I stared out the window, sunlight cracking between tall buildings. No, I said calmly. Dad made a scene. I just answered it. She exhaled, slow, calculated. You know how he is. He didn't mean it like that. He was just joking. Don't call me sweetie. A pause. Okay, she said, voice shifting, cautious now. Look, tensions were high. But we can talk. Brandon's hurt. Tessa's upset. I'm not your bank anymore. Silence. Real silence. I waited for the guilt, the plea, the twist in tone where I'm reminded how much they need me. It didn't come. Not yet. Instead, she said quieter, "Are you really going to leave your brother high and dry?" On his wedding day, I smiled. Not kindly. "I already paid for the champagne," I said. "Seems like a fitting toast." And I hung up. By noon, the texts started. Tessa. "Hey, Laurel. Can we talk? I didn't know he was going to say that. I'm so sorry." Then Brandon. "We need you." That one made me laugh. They didn't need me when they clinked glasses. Didn't need me when they picked the honeymoon suite in Santorini. Didn't need me when they left me off the seating chart. But now apparently I was essential again. Then at 4:17 p.m., I got the email. Subject urgent, wedding balance outstanding. The venue coordinator had tried to process the remaining charges. The card failed. She asked if I'd changed banks. She was giving me 48 hours before legal escalation. That was when I knew Brandon didn't come to apologize. He came to buy time. They'd chosen the house before the wedding. Not Brandon and Tessa, my parents. Over dinner a month earlier, Dad casually dropped it into conversation. Just the three of us grilled salmon on paper plates in their backyard. "We're thinking," he said, "of gifting the house to Brandon and Tessa. Start them off right." I remember setting my fork down. "Why would you do that?" I asked, keeping my voice level. Mom chimed in, buttering a roll. "Well, Brandon's starting his life. He needs something solid. You've always said you didn't want the house." That's when I realized they truly believed it wasn't mine. "That's because I own it," I said slowly. They both waved me off like I was talking taxes. "Semantics," Dad muttered. "It's family. It's all family." I should have stopped it then. Made it clear. Drawn the line with ink not implication. But part of me, some still loyal part, thought it was just dinner talk. It wasn't. While I was organizing the wedding, my parents had started the transfer paperwork, behind my back. They never asked, never mentioned. Just assumed I'd come around like I always did. But this time I wasn't just paying. I had receipts. 3 years earlier, after Dad's heart scare and Mom's hip surgery, they'd said the house was too big too much. Mortgage behind, utilities high, distance from the hospital too far. So I stepped in. I bought the house outright. Moved it into a managed trust. Let them live there rent-free on one condition: no major changes without my approval. I called Miranda, my lawyer. Smart, fast, and allergic to passive-aggressive family maneuvers. She sent over a 2-page document the next morning. It spelled it all out: how any unauthorized transfer would be void and potentially fraudulent. I forwarded it to my parents. No message. Just the PDF. 38 minutes later, my phone rang. "You think you're being clever?" Dad growled. "No," I said. "You already did that last night." It was almost 10 p.m. when the knock came. Not a frantic pounding, not a soft tap, just 3 even knocks. I was halfway through a documentary tea in hand phone on silent. I paused the screen and waited. In this building, no one knocks unannounced. Not at that hour. Not without a reason. 3 more. I stood, slowly placed the cup down, walked to the peephole. Brandon. His suit jacket was wrinkled, probably the same one from the ceremony. No tie, hair messy. Eyes red, not from tears, but from stress. And in his hand, a thick folder. I didn't open the door. He leaned toward it. Voice low, hoarse. 5 minutes. Please. I said nothing. I messed up, he added. I know I did. I thought if I handled the honeymoon thing or talked to Dad, maybe it would fix itself. He let out a small laugh. Hollow. It's just everything's falling apart. Mom's having dizzy spells. Tessa's staying at her parents'. I tried selling the sound system to cover rent, but turns out we never owned it. He paused, then softer, like when we were kids and he'd broken something Mom loved. I know I don't deserve anything from you, but I thought maybe you'd want to see this. He held the folder up to the peephole. It's everything. The wedding breakdown. What came from you? What didn't? The gym expenses. There's a letter, too. I didn't want you to think I never cared. Still, I didn't move. He shifted. I looked up to you. Still do. I just got used to everyone acting like your success didn't count because it didn't come with a ring or a degree. But you built something real, Laurel. There was a pause. Please, just read it. Another moment passed. I spoke finally. Leave the folder. He didn't argue, just slid it under the door. When I opened it later, the hallway was empty. Just the folder waiting, like a white flag. I opened the folder. He had in fact tried. Spreadsheets, receipts, highlighted margins, sticky notes with scribbles like, "This one, Dad insisted." Ava thought this was from her parents. My fault. Forgot to thank her. And at the back, a single sheet of lined paper. Not printed, not dramatic, just a letter. Short, honest, and almost human. He admitted to jealousy, to entitlement, to playing along because it was easier than standing up. It felt real, but then my inbox pinged. An email from the venue. Subject escalation, non-payment. Brandon had tried to use one of the frozen cards. They'd reached out to confirm if I had authorized it. That was the moment I knew he hadn't come to apologize. He came to stall. I stared at the email. Let it sit for 5 minutes. Then I opened the financial dashboard. Auto payments, Mom's pharmacy charge, Dad's truck insurance, Brandon's business card, Ava's student loan, their joint phone plan. I hovered over each one, paused. Then, one by one, I hit disable. Click, click, click. No drama, no warning, just off. I didn't need revenge. I needed quiet. For years, my phone buzzed daily with asks dressed as updates. Now, it went still. No one checking if I was okay, only if I was still available. And now I wasn't. They weren't entitled to a second version of me just because the first one finally spoke. That night, I poured another cup of tea. Let the silence bloom. It was soft, not triumphant, just soft. But I knew it wouldn't last. Because when the giving stops, that's when the knocking really begins. 3 days of silence. Then the first voicemail. Mom, tearful, long drawn out. You're tearing us apart, she whispered. This isn't what family does. She didn't say I'm sorry. She didn't say we were wrong. Just that I was the one tearing something. Dad didn't call. He texted, "You'll regret this someday." I didn't reply. I printed it, taped it inside the folder Brandon left, right under the spreadsheet titled Laurel's Contributions. It felt fitting, a relic of how they saw me not as family, but as a function. The calls kept coming. Ava. Then Tessa's parents. Then a number I didn't recognize, Jason's new lawyer. A formal letter arrived at my office request to renegotiate repayment terms. Miranda responded. One-line settlement requires full admission of responsibility and public withdrawal of all prior family claims of financial contribution. What we got back, thin threats, insults, finger-pointing, that told me everything. They weren't sorry. They were scrambling. When a ship starts sinking, some people look for lifeboats, others look for someone to blame. And me, I wasn't on the ship anymore. I'd spent 10 years bailing it out with a smile while they held parties on the upper deck. The moment I put down the bucket, they screamed, "She let us drown." I didn't argue, didn't explain, just walked away. 6 months passed. The gym folded. Brandon sold his car. Ava moved back with her parents. My mom took a part-time job at a craft store. Dad stopped texting. They still live in the house, barely, but it's no longer theirs to gift. And me, I travel. I read. I laugh out loud at dumb movies. Sometimes I think about that wedding, the string quartet, the dress I paid for, the moment they laughed, not with me, at me. And I remind myself that laughter was real. So this silence, it gets to be real too. I'm not asking for sympathy or stories, just one sign that you've been there too, that moment when silence felt louder than apology. When walking away wasn't anger, just clarity. If you've ever held your breath through a laugh that wasn't yours, leave a dot. I'll know what it means.